right, we're live, and he's strumming his guitar.
I was trying to think if I could quickly come up with the WKRP theme song, which is
That's a
just that's a good
that's
one.
classic reference. That is a classic reference. That just about outages us. Weren't we on the? We were on the sort of tail end of awareness of WKRP.
Well, I was big. I was largely aware of KRP because my father owned a radio station
Right.
and had a hat that said "Big Guy," and it was already in syndication. I was by the time I was a kid watching TV. KRP, I think, was just in syndication, so we were watching old reruns. But there was mirror characters for all the big characters in WKRP and my dad's radio station, and so we really connected with it.
Nice. Yeah, man, that sounds about right. WKRP in
In
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. That's when we see how the delay is when we
Yeah,
watch that later. I
wasn't
was
wasn't great.
For me it was perfect. I was right along with you.
Well, it wasn't terrible either. Well, so how are you doing? Very well.
Good, very well, very well. You.
Very well. Just because of the delay, we can just you can start answering. You can anticipate what the other person's going to say back and start answering ahead of time.
I agree.
Clever.
Absolutely. 43.
What are the chances that 43 would be right?
That would be like, what is the largest prime number before 50?
Is it? You're pretty good
I
with
don't
numbers.
know.
Oh,
I don't know. 45, 47 probably might be. 49 is not prime. So
oh.
is 47? That's the question. I think 47 is the highest.
49 I know. All the sevens I realized I know from playing football growing up, where you would just do your multiplied by sevens every time someone scored, which was often when you're playing like 2-on-2 touch football in the park.
Right.
Glad we got that covered. So I was starting to tell you when we were so rudely interrupted that I was thinking about the exhaustion of the creative push, and here's what occurred to me is like what may be happening here. Oh, that nice little light just went off. Where normally you'd be pushing for a while, and then you'd get to some exhaustion, and then you would just sort of fall off the wagon, and you'd feel bad about it maybe because you weren't getting to it, and then when the inspiration returns later, you'd climb your way back up into the hike. Maybe you're falling off the trail or falling off the mountain rather than the wagon. Anyway, now we sort of set up these guardrails. So you and I have these calls, these check-ins every day, and then we have these calls on Fridays here where we talk through stuff. And then I have a friend that who's helping me almost sort of be as a producer for different stuff, and so that gives me the regular accountability. So I have to sort of face up to it every day / every week. And so it's good because it disallows these sort of falling off for weeks at a time and nobody's holding you accountable. So just you can ignore it and be in the depths or focus on being a parent or whatever it is forever. But on the other side of it, it doesn't allow you sometimes the regular sort of breathing in between. I wonder if it gives us part of this sort of like panic when we're not in a moment that's fully activated, and then we're like, I'm blowing it, I'm wasting my life, because you're so accountable to it on a regular basis.
Yeah, we were raised on Robin Williams' Carpe Diem speech. It's just like, seize the damn day. It's just like every day. Good Lord. Right. I need a break.
Right.
But yeah, it's something. It's such a slog. I there was a time where I felt like college was a bit of like it costs so much money to go to college, but really just getting together, just having an environment where you're stuck with a bunch of people who have similar pursuits is such an advantage, which I totally blew it. I went to a acting school around a bunch of creative people, and I was like, it's party time. And
so what was the blowing it in that?
Well, I think in some ways I needed that social time to just help myself figure out who I was. Uh, so is that blowing it? But it did seem like there was an opportunity. There was all kinds of resources. Like if I
Hmm.
wanted to like put on shows, if I wanted to find somebody to shoot, and I think I stupidly sort of surrendered to it. I didn't take charge of it enough. Like if I always knew that I was more interested probably in making movie-ish kind of stuff, something that was recorded, like even like video camera, crappy stuff. But like I was always more interested in that medium than in stage
Hmm.
theater, even though I really like stage theater. But it was just like the program was all about stage theater. And had I had the confidence to take ownership to say, well, I'm kind of interested in making something that outlives the performance night, um, there was plenty of people around. I could have been like, here are some parts. Let's
Yeah.
improvise this. And I had plenty of ideas. And I also had a bunch of, I remember having all these ideas, and I would go to my actor friends and be like, let's just do a thing where we're just like at a cafe, we're filming it and we're having a conversation about this. We'll just play with it. And people be like, what are you doing? That's not going to work. And it's just
Hmm.
like, so I in some ways had some downer energy around me.
Yeah. That's the end of it.
Well, I mean, I feel like in some ways I could have taken more advantage, and I would
Yeah.
advise anybody who's doing, especially going into arts, and I think people are smarter about it now, that if you're going into especially something like that, like take advantage
Yeah.
of all the resources. I mean, even just professors I could have talked to and saying like, look,
Right.
I think I saw it as an inevitability that like I was gonna like go to college and then I was gonna start getting cast in things and it was just gonna all work out.
Right.
I didn't think I had to
But partly it
hustle.
seems like that goes with the territory of being youthful and
Yeah.
I mean, and now you look back and you realize that was very young. You're still just emerged from being a kid and new experiences, and you don't really know what's going to take and what like maybe it would have turned out that you like somehow stumbled on a love for math and went on to a happy life as a mathematician or something, just as now we look back and we're like, I wish I had seized that moment and taken my career in that direction, which I certainly have. But partially it feels like it goes with the territory of youth. On the other hand, then, I was listening to some podcasts recently of Lin Manuel Miranda, and it sounds like he totally grabbed the bull by the horns in college, in his artsy fartsy environment, and was producing shows of the type that he would go on to become famous for. So, but that also might be the exception that sort of proves the rule, right? You're occasionally hyper driven, hyper focused person, and the rest of us were bouncing around a bit.
Yeah, well, but I mean, is it the exception to the rule of successful people? I wonder if it's the rule for successful people. There's a lot of people that I read about. Um, I think is it I feel like the South Park guys,
Uh-huh.
that they started when they were pretty young. I know that this show Avatar, um, those guys met in at RISD, and then they started working on it, like the
Hmm.
guy who does the show, the dad show, American, what is that, but he started doing projects in school, and
Hmm.
that's what ended up being his first project. So I wonder if it is the difference
Non
between the people
losers. Non losers actually go for it. No, no. Uh, yeah, I mean, I also like your theory that you had years ago, and maybe I just like it because it made me feel better. But like this sort of, it's not. There was some day when I was bemoaning that I hadn't taken advantage of some opportunities when I was younger, and you were saying, but that all of that is like seasoning that was preparing you. I don't know if you were just bucking me up, but I liked you had a whole theory behind it, and I liked it. This idea that it's a different version of making it if you make it later in life, but it's a more seasoned, sort of rich version. I think there are examples of that when you look around.
Yeah, and I think it's just a choice, and if we, if you give up, you're done, and if you keep going, I think, yeah.
But
it's you build you're building it up, and you're building a different thing, right, like you're saying, like a richer thing. It's based more on who, everything that you've learned and everything that you're trying to be. So many people who are young, I feel like you you become what somebody else sees you as. They say, oh, you're
mm,
that, I'm going to make you that. And then you're like, okay.
mm. Yeah, maybe so. Or you just haven't had the catalog of experiences that helps you decide between who you want to be and don't want to be. Yeah, it's maybe someone's offering nowadays. If there was a path available to me to fame and fortune, there are certain paths I would be like, that's just not me. I'll pass,
Yeah.
And I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, when I was younger, I might have just been like, oh, okay, let's go down that. But maybe I'm also making myself feel better. You said a second ago though, like if you give up, you're done, and you just got to keep at it. But that also maybe
Yeah.
belies the
Yeah.
amount of struggle that is like we're always feeling like maybe we should just give up, right? I mean, that's something we actively talk about many weeks. It's just like, oh God, shouldn't I just go gracefully and 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 throw in the towel, and just like be a dad and have a nice life and be happy with, be content. And then there's some other burning thing that pushes you forth in these sort of vulnerable creative pursuits.
Yeah, I mean, we're never done. We always throw our ambition somewhere. We have all this energy we want to create, but I do think that yeah, it pisses me off is that it feels easier to be ambitious towards something that's less core.
Yeah, yeah,
I was just reading about how Joseph Campbell, the whole hero's journey
yeah.
thing.
Uh-huh.
He has a quote. I didn't hear this before. That he said, in the cave you fear lies the treasure you seek.
Yes,
Within the
yes, sir.
cave you fear. Yeah. And so I do think that in a way it's easier to be ambitious about something, that is less dear to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like I find that, like, why is it so hard to put myself out there sometimes in terms of like just creating work and putting it out there? It's so painful.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for it to be painful, but it's because there's something about putting that there that really is what
Yeah,
I'm
it's
I'm
vulnerable.
so afraid of it. Whereas if somebody
You're
were to say that
exposing.
a business idea isn't quite right,
Yeah, yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, well, it's not, you're not breaking my heart. It's just
Yeah,
like,
that's
I'll
right.
adjust it.
Yeah, it's like the vulnerability in your Death Star. It's like it's like here you open up, don't, no shields, no walls or protection, and then someone's like, a little slice off of that, and you're like, oh, that hurts. Yeah, I mean, I think I was telling you, I finally put up the last of the solo keyboard, that sort of
Yeah, I
batch of
listened
solo
to it.
keyboard
It's
songs.
great. It's
Oh,
great.
thanks. And I spaced them out. We had talked about this. I spaced them out based on this sort of strategy. Maybe I could get Spotify playlist to pitch. You pitch it to the Spotify playlist editors, and maybe they'll. Anyway, none of that happened. So I ended up just drawing it all out just to make it more painful on myself. But I put up the last of them, and I sent out a big list of emails, and I got some really nice responses. But generally, I got very few responses on the scale of how many people I sent it to. And the interesting thing was the two songs ago when I sent it out, I got more good responses, but I was more crushed because somehow, I don't know, it was just like it had been so vulnerable, and then I listened to it and I lost my own faith in the song, and it crushed me for a couple days. And then this time I sent it out and I got arguably fewer responses, but it crushed me less. It didn't crush me at all, actually. It just was sort of like there was a couple pangs here and there, but mostly I was like, all right, I put stuff out. And I think partly I got fewer responses because it was a couple weeks after the last one, and people were just like, oh, okay, yeah, he's someone that sends things out. And we're starting to get some. Are you washing your hands right underneath the audio? All right. We'll be back after I pause here. Wait, do I have a pause?
Wait, hold on. I now you're hearing me in the other mic. Yes, my loopback mic just sent me a thing. I thought you said 40 minutes, which but maybe
I
it's
was
only 10.
guessing. Yeah. Well, it's not that beautiful deluxe audio now, but it still works. Um, I think you can even flip back into it. Anyway, so I think it's because I had sent one not too long previously, then I sent one again. And so it's not like if it's unusual, people will probably respond to you, right? Like, oh my gosh, you're putting music out. And then they are inclined to respond. If you're just someone who does that, they probably just like, oh, here's another email from so and so, and they just process it and they don't necessarily think to even respond. Anyway, this is my reasoning for why maybe I didn't get that many responses. But the more valuable part was I didn't care as much. I wasn't as caught up in it. And maybe it's the exercise, maybe it's the practice of opening up those sort of that like vulnerable zone, and maybe it does sort of grow calluses at some point where you're just like, well, this is something I do, and I don't know. Maybe I wonder if just that
Absolutely.
practice of showing up gives you the ability to do it and care a little bit less,
Yeah.
or be caught
I
up
also
less.
I also think that there's a couple things. One is that you're sort of building your garden, that you're putting out different things, and it's getting to the point where when somebody finds out about you, they'll be like, "Oh my God, that's really nice," or more things that somebody will stumble into and say, "Oh, that's really cool. Who is this person?" And find out more about you, and you're a complex, multifaceted guy, and so that's really cool. But one thing I'm noticing, which I think maybe both of us need to figure out, which when you start talking, when I'm researching how do you put stuff out there, it's just so much marketing that just assumes you have a good product.
Yeah,
And in some ways, when for me, because I hold projects for too long and I draw things out, and so that process is the thing that I'm trying to conquer at first, which who knows how smart it is, but then comes the making it work, making setting it up so people can find it is this whole other challenge which people are talking about a lot, and I think that's going to be the next thing. So the first thing is this really important thing of figuring out what you want to do in the first place. Is really hard. It's really hard to, and even if generally I want to make music and of this kind, even still narrowing it down to the point where it feels like and you feel like, okay, yes, this is really what I wanted to do. It's the most important step. And I feel like most of the things I hear about creatives, it blows by that. It's just like, okay, how do you market the thing? How do you get people to look at the thing? Yeah, first you got to get the thing and overcome all these obstacles to
yeah,
to to,
to
to
having
get
the
there.
thing.
And so, and
Well,
then
I
yeah, and then the next thing is it finding the people that might like it, and that's a whole
yeah.
giant thing.
I also noticed that just the experience of putting music up on Spotify and trying to like follow all the guidance for how to do that, it does feel targeted to people like your artists who are in their 20s and wear nicely fitted t-shirts. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, and now add all your social channels and add all, and it's just like, well, I mean, I have a Facebook account I don't really ever use with mostly random variety of people who I sort of know and sort of don't know. I sort of generally look at Instagram. Very few people I know post anymore. It's not like I have social channels. I mean, if I was in my 20, the version of my bands, in the 20s, we would have, if we were alive, if those were alive today, if those were happening today, we would have all our social channels and we would be putting in a lot of work on that. But it's not how things are organized now. So it's like, and like put up a video canvas behind your tracks. And it's just like, this stuff doesn't really apply. Like I'm creating music and I want to put it somewhere and I want to send people to it, but go promote it it's an uncomfortable sort of juxtaposition with stage in life that's a little later. And it makes all the sense in the world. If you're Spotify's whatever department, you're not focused on, the 40 to 50 set, or the 40 to 60 set as your main group of artists that you're supporting. And that's probably, the curve of their age distribution is probably not the tallest part, but anyway,
Well,
it's
it
one of the
also,
awkward points, I think, of trying to get in that game now.
yeah, and I wonder if, I mean, I think that marketing now, it needs to be. I think if you're going to be in business, it's just like if you want to, if a cook who wants to start a restaurant, there's making a great recipe, and then there's making a restaurant work are completely two different things, and nowadays I think the reason that Spotify uses all these social channels is because they work in a way that nothing else does. Like when I started out in bands, we were putting flyers on lampposts, and that just doesn't.
Yeah,
And what was the point of that? It's because we wanted to get 20 or 30 people to show up at a show. Most of them we know. Maybe a
totally.
few people would see a flyer, but
We had
like
a
that just
mailing list. You remember we'd have a mailing list and we'd send
mailing list.
postcards.
That's right.
Postcards.
Postcards.
Yeah. We'd
Yeah, yeah,
Xerox
we did do
postcards
that.
and we
Yeah,
send them
yeah,
out for
yeah, yeah.
shows. Mailing
You
postcards.
you'd create the postcard yourself, right?
Yeah.
With the information on the front. If we
Oh, yeah.
design it, yeah. Our
Yeah.
drummer would design our flyers, and we'd send them. Yeah, yeah.
Quaint.
And
And
so
then email came on the scene and we're like, we could just send out electronic mails.
I think that that's where we're gonna have to go. You know, the beauty of social is that there's as many 40-year-olds that don't use this stuff. Plenty do. And I think that the reach ultimately is wider, but I don't think that there's any way around it. I think this is like
That's the new
it's the new TV. It's just like you can't just be like I
but it's
don't do
awkward.
TV.
It's like I don't want to man, like I want to create the music. But does that mean I want to like build my artist social channel? Like I mean, I guess I could just use my accounts that I use to post pictures of my kids. But
No, I
you
don't
know what
think
I
you.
mean?
No, no, no. You don't want to do that. You have. I
But
think you want to. You need to create. You need to. I mean, it's again. This is back to the question of: are you cooking nice meals for your friends, or do you want to have a restaurant?
but you shouldn't have to. You should be able to, like, if you want to organically get into the restaurant business, you should be able to start by cooking meals for your friends, and then
That's how you start. Yeah.
you start having monthly dinners maybe, and then maybe they start being like, this is great, and they bring their friends, and then it builds up. At least that's organic. Whereas starting out by just being like, I'm gonna take an artist photo of myself, and I'm gonna start harassing everyone I know
Yeah.
to join it, and like I'm going
Oh
to
yeah.
start posting things as if I exist at this level of game. And it's just it's such a distasteful business, you know what I mean? Like if you can do it in a way that's organic, then great. And it's like, hey friends, I'm posting this stuff, or I'm starting to do music and whatever. That's natural, and whoever wants to join. But as soon as it crosses over into this just like, hey, follow and like and join my whatever, and here's my thing, and I'm in the studio and I'm so honored to be blah 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 with Colette, it's just like, count me out.
Yeah. Well, definitely count you out or count us out of anything that's inauthentic and that yeah. Don't. I don't think yeah, fitting into somebody else's aesthetic is not the game at all. But I do think that something along the lines of, I mean, all of the lampposts that we put flyers on, if you think of it that way, that there are these channels, and that there are things that you need to sort of put in various places, and that over time people that like this sort of thing little by little will start to trickle over to your thing. But there is that work, and yes, it is on these channels. But yeah, a fake artist, I think that people really want. This is cool. People are interested in authentic people, so that it's the opposite of putting up something that's like slick when you're not slick. It's like, what are you really, and what stage are you at, and let's see that. People, I think, are the people that will check you out are the ones who want to check somebody out who is where you're at. And so, yeah, I agree. Not let's not be authentic, this unauthentic.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
still think we have to put up those flyers.
Yeah. I guess you're right. There's something so painful about that leap into this new space. I mean, you see people doing it also on LinkedIn who are like trying to start a new career in something. I'm going to become a this consultant or I'm going to become a that, and then like suddenly it's just this like heavy marketing angle. And even when I see it and I support them, I'm like, go for it. There's something so painful about it. And then I don't know. This is not productive for me to sit here and whine about it. But I don't know. I just yeah, I don't know what I wish. The getting it in front of people, like it is such a different level to get your art in front of random people out there. Instead of hitting up your friend
Yeah, I
base.
think that's really important. I remember seeing there was a guy who was giving advice to bands, and he's just like, "Okay, I'm gonna spend 12 hours with you, and I'm going to make everything blah blah blah." And it was just like, this band came in, and they were this really great sounding band, and they were like, "Okay, what?" And there's this like email every single person in your book, and just like, you want to blah, 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 you gotta get as many, ask them to like, and just tell them that you need that you're running this thing. And I was just like, really, this is just awful.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, no, there's and I think TikTok, that's the benefit of
That's the
TikTok
answer.
over anything else, is that it's not about marketing to people that you already know. I think marketing to
Because it's
people
just
that you
all
already know is a
algorithm.
losing game. Yeah, well, it's so this is what I think. I wish I
By
knew
the
more.
I just talked over you saying that, but that feels like an important thing. Yeah, marketing to people you already know is a losing game. I think that's what I was trying to say with these whining for the last 20 minutes is that's the part that feels so bad. It's just like I know these people, these friends are friends of mine for different reasons, not because I need them to go like and
Right.
follow and whatever. That's just I'd much rather it be to people out there who enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think it's fine every now and then to reach out and tell people and share with people on your regular social, whatever, or an email list. That's fine, but that's can't be the center of it. I think like there's YouTube ads. There's ways to, and they're difficult to figure out. I think because I mean I've been thinking about it and I haven't figured it out, but I
But you're feeling like TikTok is promising.
well, I think TikTok is promising because I think if you make a video on YouTube, it's basically never going to show it to anybody unless you advertise, unless you make an ad. Whereas TikTok, I think I heard something along the line, and if anybody watches this ever and comments, you could correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it's something like, you've got billions of users, right? Billions of users. And so it's easy for them to just say, okay, you're going to show up, if you're a nobody and you make a video, it's going to show up on 10 people's uh, screens. You're going to flip up, and 10 people out of a billion are going to see your thing. And it's something like, if people just like immediately swipe away, if all 10 of those people immediately swipe away, that's it. And you do another video, and it'll show it to 10 more people. But if people linger on it, or people like it, or people comment on it, then it'll show it to maybe 100 people. And then so if people are just hanging out on it, then it'll show it to more and more people. And that's and
So
so
you have the ability to be discovered randomly, and if
and
there's some spark
and
to it.
and yeah, and any kind of connection also, they like clump people into what they're basically interested in. So at first, when you put something out, it has no idea which 10 people to show you to.
Hmm.
But then if somebody uh, spends some time, or somebody likes it or something, then they say, okay, where is that person on this map of psychodynamics, that like people like certain things? This person is basically here. So what if we start showing more to these people, and then little by little, more and more people, you start to hone in on the people that are more likely to linger on your stuff. So I think it is promising, and uh, it is weird. There's something about the word TikTok that makes me feel like ashamed to say I'm working on a video for TikTok. So I just don't say that. But
Well, it could be like your whole
I think
theory
it's
though,
promising.
where that reduces the competition, at least in your set, right?
Yeah.
If you feel embarrassed about it, then probably I feel embarrassed about it, so I don't even attempt it, and then there's less competition. Whereas if we were in our 20s, maybe there'd be all the competition, but maybe you'll your brilliance to be in this game will be proven yet. And actually, I mean, it really has that been your experience with it, that you are reaching random people as instead of having to hit up your friends and family to.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, not very many, but more than in any other place. And when I get people who I know somehow, I don't know if they found out, they did some sort of search or whatever, but two people that are my friends on Facebook started following me on TikTok. I was like, ah, this destroys the experiment. Like
Yeah,
I wanted to be able to just like put out garbage, 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 garbage until I started like finding
totally.
my zone. And just like three people that are following me, that is like, one of them is my neighbor,
Has it
who's a lovely person, but it's sort of like
spoils
destroys
the.
the freedom of streaking the quad.
Well, totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're you're at your whatever modern day Woodstock, and everybody's walking around naked, and then all of a sudden you see your neighbor. Oh,
Yeah.
hey.
Hey, how's it going? Okay.
Yeah, on the nude beach. That's
Yeah.
what I was going for. It's seeing a neighbor on the nude beach, I guess. Uh, all right. Well, maybe we ought to end it there. We're at a half hour.
It's a good place.
It's a good place. All right.
Wow.
So, end
Time flies.
broadcast.
Okay.